The first tip that we're going to go over of our 5 tips for beginner surfers is equipment. You really need to choose the right surfboard to use as a beginner surfer. Now, we can go into great detail about this to keep things short and sweet. Most important thing is you want a lot of volume. So a bigger board is really important for you as a beginner surfer because it allows for a stable platform for you to stand up on. If you take a small board, and this is one of the biggest problems we see in surfing that I've seen over the last 10 years as a surf instructor, is as surfers try to drop down in board size, they have a really hard time and are never able to progress. So the kind of board you're looking for is a soft top, which means that it has a soft foam on the outside of the surfboard, or a hard top long board, which is generally between 8 and 9 feet, so that it gives you buoyancy and stability to be able to stand up on the surfboard. Moving on to tip number 2 for beginner surfers is the pop-up. Now, this is one of the most important things that you can do as a beginner surfer who's learning to surf, is to practice the pop-up at home, not only in the water when you go and surf. You see, the pop-up is one of those movements that we can create repetition from. It becomes a habit, so that when you go and surf, you don't have to think about the pop-up, and you can focus on things like catching waves, reading waves, and wiping out. Haha. So that's the second tip for beginner surfers, is practice your pop-up at home. And I don't just mean that you should just practice your pop-up willy-nilly. It's really important for you to make sure that you have the right technique. So ask for some assistance here so that you make sure that you're popping up with correct technique. That takes us to tip number 3, is that know where to go surf as a beginner surfer. Surfing can be intimidating, and one of the biggest reasons it's intimidating is because waves are scary. There are definitely better surf spots for beginner surfers and better surf spots for intermediate and advanced surfers, and so on and so forth. And if you're trying to learn to surf in an environment that's not very good for beginner surfers, you're going to have a very hard time learning to surf. So again, I'm not going to get into great detail about this, but ask a friend, ask a surf instructor, ask us as experts, and we'll help you find the best surf spot in your area to learn to surf. Which leads me to tip number 4. Have a good surf instructor. Now, you might not be expecting this because it seems that you just go and surf and then you stand up on the board and you ride the wave. But a huge part in learning to surf, making sure that you're doing the movements with the correct technique. And unfortunately, surfing doesn't really have much of a governing body. It might be a governing body like the ISA, which is the International Surfing Association. What tends to happen is there's not much regulation, and so there's a lot of surf instructors, surf schools, surf camps, so on and so forth, that don't really give you the best opportunity to learn to surf. So find a good surf instructor, learn the right technique, and continue to hone that technique by constantly reviewing yourself learning to surf. So that was tip number 4. Find a really good surf instructor. And last but not least, tip number 5, and I mean, it probably should have been the first tip, but safety is everything. So please, please, please be safe out there. Surfing can be quite dangerous, and I'm not trying to discourage you, but there are rip currents. Obviously, there are structures underneath the water that could hurt you, and so it's important to just go and find a safe environment to learn to surf in. And safety is also peace of mind. So you're going to find it a lot easier to focus on learning to surf if you feel comfortable in your environment, whether that's having an instructor accompany you, whether that's going to surf where the lifeguards are, or just knowing what specific breaks to go to so that you're safe. As well as, again, going back to using the right techniques in surfing, also knowing how to fall, protect your head, and just overall what to expect when you go and surf will help you be safe and help you learn to surf a lot quicker. And that includes our 5 tips to beginner surfers or aspiring surfers. If you like this video, please subscribe to our channel so that you can see more videos about learning to surf, or follow us on Instagram. We already have 167,000 followers and we're growing quickly. Join the movement. and go surf.